Okay, so for this exercise, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be getting, once again, E10 and 11, Hylian shield texture, and I'm going to be launching Maya. So that takes a little bit in my computer, so I'm going to pause the video and then continue once Maya is loaded. Okay, so from here, I'm going to set up the project. So say that I want this on my desktop, where I unzip these. I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to open. First one that I'm going to do is the Hylian shield exploded. With this one, you will notice if I go to the UV editing that it's already UV unwrapped. So that's what I want to do with this exercise. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be exploding or exporting the exploded version of the mesh. This means that the meshes are going to be separated because if they are together, they're going to be casting shadows on other objects. And I want them to be completely separated so there are no soft shadows on my mesh. I want to have everything handled by engines or any rendering software. So I want to separate them so the shadows don't get cast on top of the other things. So I'm going to select all of the ones that are reading high, and I will go and say File, Export Selection. I will save that on my desktop, and this is going to be a Hylian high. And then I'm going to take all of the low ones and I'm going to say File, Export Selection, and this one is going to be Hylian low. So I have high and low. Now I'm going to go back to Substance Painter. Sorry, I'm going to go File, and I'll say Open because I don't have one. I'll say File, New. And this one is asking me to select the file. So I'm going to go back down to my desktop, and I will start with low. Low is the one that I care for. So other than that, I don't need to import anything. The most important thing is you have this disabled, the auto unwrap. This is a way of UV unwrapping, but it does a terrible job. So it's usually better that you unwrap in Maya and then just export it or import it in here. So I have everything at default. I'm going to say OK, and that is going to load my mesh, and I have pretty much no information of that. So if you follow the lecture, you will see that I can do a lot of things in here, add materials and whatnot. But the most important part is look on the texture settings part, and then scroll down to bake mesh maps. So I'm going to select that, and I want to have an output size of, let's say, 2048, and I will do a I have that on my desktop, so sorry. So it's going to be high. And I'm going to leave these values here for a second so you get to see what's going on. And then I'm not going to do any aliasing. And yeah, I'm just going to use the default parameters. So I'm going to say bake all texture sets. And what you will see if I just use the default values is that it will transfer all the information on the normal map, but it will look like it's being chopped off. You see that it's not giving me all of the information about the mesh. See how it looks like the bolts got chopped off in here. The Triforce is not going all the way up, and that is just because of the surge distance. So I'm going to do this whole process again, but this time around I'm going to say 0.05 and 0.05. So near and far, front and back distance, I'm going to rebake that. And that is going to be giving me a way better result. So I don't want to use a really large value, because if I do, that is going to be casting shadows from this guy onto this mesh. So just so you get to see what's going on, if I say something like, let's say 5, the maximum is 1, but it is going to be doing a really bad job. Do you see how it's casting a shadow here? That is a shadow of this handle, and the same goes for this part. So over here, looks okay, but it's always a trade-off of what do you want your shell to be. So in my case, I know that the value is good for 0.05. So try that value for this mesh, and that is going to do a way better result than what I did. Okay, so I have that. It is okay, it is baked. And now what I'm gonna do is import my color map. So this is something similar to what we did the last exercise. So I'm gonna say import resources, I'm gonna say add resources, and I'm gonna look for my color map. So I'm gonna be importing that. I will be importing that as a texture, and I will import that as the current session is fine. So hit import. Awesome. So over here, you'll see that after I imported it, I can override this ID map. The ID map was not generated when I imported my mesh in the first place, and that is because there is no information on the vertex side to know what material is what material. That is something Maya doesn't do, and that's why we can talk about it. Other software like Substance Painter, ZBrush is able to do that. I don't know about 3D Max. I think Blender is able to do that, but Maya doesn't really save the information about the vertex color in each one of the individual vertex. It's more like a texture workflow. So over here, after I've done that, I'm gonna go look for Smart Materials. In a newer version of Substance Painter, what you will have is a menu in which you can just click on Smart Materials and look for this thing. So the base material is going to be something like steel. First off, I need to switch these to layers. I'm going to get rid of this one because I don't really care about this one. So I'm going to say steel. I'm going to drag and drop it, and then everything is steel base. You see that? It's really nice. Oh, another thing that I'm going to do is now that I have my normals, I can change the file that I was using here. So what I'm going to do is reopen, but I'm going to open the regular one, the not exploded version. And then I'm going to take the low, and I'm going to be exporting that. So file and say export selection. And this one is just going to be known as Hylian. The important part is that the name of the material need to be the same for whenever I re-import it here, because it's going to be using this name here. See, Hylian Shield. So I'm going to say edit. Then I'm going to say project configuration, select, look for Hylian, and then that's it. Just gonna hit OK. The name is the same on the material, so that's why I don't see two of them. That's good. And now my handle is in the right place. Okay, so now that said, my steel is a really good base. I will be doing something else to override that material. Let's see, what can I do that looks nice? Fire, maybe a good material. Let me see if I can change the property of steel scratch. Some of these shaders, I cannot change the color, and that's why I won't be able to use those. So let's see, steel base. Yeah, I cannot change the basic color of this mesh. So this is not a good mesh to have. Probably something like gold armor. So I can expand this, take a look at the base metal, and then just change the color, right? So over here, I'm gonna make it something a little bit more bluish, and a little bit darker. And come to think about it, it's a little bit more on the blue purple side of things. So that's a good color. You don't need to match the color, it doesn't really matter. It's just as long as you have the material separated, that's great. Now this is covering everything, and I don't want it to cover everything. I just want to cover everything that was the blue part. So I'm going to be right clicking and saying add a mask with color selection. So mask with color selection, click on the big box, and then this is going to show you the actual the map that we imported, right? I'm trying to rotate the camera and that it doesn't like it, so that's why it's complaining. But I'm gonna click on the blue, and now it's just on the blue side of things. Look at that, looks really neat. Now I'm gonna be taking another gold plate, just gonna be putting that on the top, and that is gonna be another mask with color selection. So add mask with color selection, and this is going to be on the gold side of things. So that looks good. There is a steel painted, I'm gonna be putting that on top. And I'm gonna do another mask with color selection, and I will do red. All the reds are gonna be like this. Beautiful. Then the next thing that I want to do is the handle. So there is a couple of leathers here that I can use. I'm gonna use leather wither. I'm gonna be putting that on the back. If you don't want to use map with color selection, if you don't have one of those, you can always do a paint. So I'm gonna change my view from the 3D to the 3D and 2D. It's this option here in the old version of these. Don't remember exactly how it looks like in the newest one, but then I want to say something like add a mask, add a black mask, so nothing is selected, and then I can paint on the mask and then say, yeah, this is the part that I'm selecting. This is going to have a lot of issues though. So one thing that I like doing is clicking here, and this is going to give me some options: paint by triangle or paint by UV chunk. So this is what I'm going to do. Just do the UV chunk, and that looks better. Okay. Alternatively, I can delete that mask. So click remove mask, and I can just do the color selection as I've been doing. Mask with color selection, and then just select this part. And there you go. But that is just in case you didn't have one. And the last thing that I'm going to be doing is, let's do the wood for the back part. So everything is applied here. And there's a thing in this part that is all of the faces are looking in different directions, which is somewhat of an issue. So I'm going to be doing a mask with color selection as well. And then I'm going to be cleaning it up. Okay, so in order to fix that, I'm gonna go to fibers, and in fibers, I'm gonna be scrolling to the properties. Down here, you're gonna see the projection part. So I'm gonna say UV projection, I'm gonna expand that, and I'm gonna say triplanar projection. And that is gonna be fixing up the direction of the seams. So it's gonna be going horizontally. You can change the rotation if you want to, make it vertically. It's entirely up to you, but say 180, that is gonna go make these guys vertically. So there's two parts for these. That is the end of this exercise. So there's two parts. First off, what I will need you to do is as usual, take a screenshot of that. I'm gonna say new screenshot, and I will drag this selection here. And I'm going to be saving these as my exercise. Totally forgot the name of this exercise. It's going to be E11. So that is going to be E11 underscore Bobadilla L underscore let's call this Hylian Substance. Remember, you don't really need to add the part after the underscore. That is just for visual purposes for me to know what I'm uploading. But that said, the next part of the assignment is going and actually publishing this into Substance Sketchfab. So there is a short video on how to do that already in my courses, but you can do that from here. If you say export textures, then looking for the template, I'm gonna look for Sketchfab, and then it is going to ask me what do you want. So I'm gonna say export. And this is going to open the Sketchfab option. So over here, if you have linked your Sketchfab account, you should be able to just log in and publish it in. I'm not going to entirely publish it because I already have a bunch of these, and there's no point in re-uploading it. But it is going to say something like Hylian Shield, and then you can do tags or whatever, and then publish. Make sure that you publish this, and then just say upload. I'm not gonna do that part, but once you have that, it is going to go to your Sketchfab account, and from there you can just give me the URL so I can take a look at your model. So your submission is going to be in the comments, the URL for the Sketchfab, and also the image that I just uploaded. So that said, this is the end of that video, and thanks for watching.